I'm Griff Robodanger, and I have a confession. I love Friday the 13th. I haven't counted, but I'd guess a good fourth of my content involves the franchise in some way. But I gotta be real with you guys, some of the kills in this franchise don't make a lot of sense if you really stop to think about them. And if I'm gonna pick on movies like Camp Murder or To All a Good Night about some of their silly kill scenes, it's only fair I do the same for the franchise I love. These kills generally fall under one of two categories. Why did Jason do that? Or, that doesn't seem possible. First up is Crazy Ralph's death from Friday the 13th Part 2. Ralph is outside of Ginny's cabin, next to a tree, snooping as Ginny makes out with Paul. Suddenly, Jason appears from behind the tree and chokes out Ralph with barbed wire. That doesn't seem possible. Let's break this down. Ralph, a man of average height, is standing next to this tree. Jason's hands suddenly appear from above, with Jason standing behind the tree, and his hands and arms are angled downward. This scene only makes sense if Jason is insanely tall, but at Jason's actual height, the angle of his arms makes no sense. I guess it could work if Jason was standing on something, but we see Ralph walking up to the tree, and he's only there for a minute before Jason gets him. How would this even work? Jason sees Ralph over by the tree and thinks, I gotta kill this dude because I'm planning on killing all these counselors tomorrow night, and I don't need this guy snooping around when I do it. But I gotta do it quickly, so nobody sees me. I could just go stab the guy, but instead, I'm going to go find something to stand on that will support my weight. Sneak that object over to the tree without the old guy noticing. Quietly step up on the object. Get my barbed wire around the tree somehow, because I obviously can't loop it over the tree because trees are tall and have a lot of branches. And with the tree completely blocking my view, I'll strangle the guy with the barbed wire. Oh, and then I'm going to move his body, but instead of bringing the dead guy back to my shack, I'm just going to stash him in the kitchen of this campsite and hope nobody finds him until I've started my big murder plans. Plus, keep in mind, this is canonically only Jason's second kill. Is he really going to go to all this effort to kill Crazy Ralph? In the final chapter, we meet Tina, twin sister of Terry. Tina is upstairs looking out the window when Jason suddenly smashes through the window and grabs her, throwing her outside onto the car below. Why was Jason out there? This is where Jason was waiting. How did he even climb up there? I don't see a ladder. Did he climb out of the window from inside the house just so he could kill someone who was inside the house? Why not just hide in a closet or something? And what was Jason's game plan here? Was he just gonna stand on this awning all night in the rain, waiting for someone to hopefully walk up to this window? You could maybe argue he was about to sneak into the house through that window, but at this point in the movie, Jason had already been inside the house, in the kitchen, killing Jimbo, which means Jason kills Tina's sister, Terry, outside the house. Then, Jason goes inside the house to kill Jimbo, while Teddy is watching dirty movies in the living room. But instead of killing Teddy now, and just going up the stairs to kill Tina, Sarah, and Doug, what Jason does instead, Jason goes back outside in the rain, climbs up on this awning, waits for Tina to go to the window, yeets her out onto the car, then he goes back into the house and kills Teddy. I don't get it. In Freddy vs. Jason, our man Voorhees is given absurdly superhuman strength beyond anything we've seen in the franchise to this point. Because Jason is fresh out of hell in this film, I can suspend my disbelief when we see Jason launch victims 100 feet in the air. But there's one kill in this film that just doesn't make any sense to me, even if you give Super Jason the benefit of the doubt. Near the end of the film, Kia is killed when Jason slashes her with his machete, and the sheer force of his swing sends her flying across the yard into a tree with a machete slash across her chest. That doesn't seem possible, and not just for the obvious reasons. Now look, in the context of the film, I'm willing to accept that Hellspawn Jason is powerful enough to swing his machete with enough force to propel an adult woman into a tree with such forceful impact. The problem is Kia's fragile human body. A blade swung with that much force would instantly slice through Kia like she was made of jello. Remember Fruit Ninja? It would be that. She might still go flying, but it would be in pieces. So there are a number of kills in this franchise that are so hard to explain that they have spawned a debate about whether or not Jason Voorhees can actually teleport. Most of these scenes come from Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan, but this one is, in my opinion, the hardest one to explain. Miles is on the deck of a cruise ship when he encounters Jason. To escape, Miles decides to climb this mast ladder? I don't know nautical terms. So Miles climbs up this ladder, we cut back to Jason and he's still just standing there. We cut back to Miles, and then boom, suddenly Jason's up there too, yanking Miles off the ladder and throwing him to his death. That doesn't seem possible. The time span from when we last see Jason on the deck of the boat to when we see him grab Miles is just a hair over 6.5 seconds. So this is where Miles was when Jason grabs him, which you can see from this long shot of the ship is right about here, while Jason was standing on this level just over to the side a bit. So let's assume Jason wanted to speed run this ladder in 6.5 seconds. With a better angle and a shorter distance to the ladder than Jason, it still takes Miles 2 full seconds just to get to the bottom rung of the ladder. Even if Jason could somehow pull this move off in a 1.5 seconds, that leaves him with only 5 seconds to climb from here to here, which would be a tough task even in optimal conditions. But Jason has several additional factors going against him. First of all, it's raining, so the metal rungs of the ladder are going to be slippery and more difficult to traverse in a speedy manner. Also take into consideration, Jason is wearing slimy, rotten work boots that have been submerged underwater for several years, which means they wouldn't provide Jason with the sort of traction he would need to scale a ladder like this in record time, even if Jason was athletic enough to pull this off in first place. This next kill comes from Friday the 13th Part 3. Debbie is in the shower. Just outside the door, Jason kills Debbie's boyfriend Andy. Debbie gets out of the shower, calls for Andy, and when he doesn't answer, she gets in this hammock and reads a classic Fangoria magazine. But she soon realizes Andy's mangled body is hanging above her, and that's when Jason grabs her from underneath the hammock and knives her from below. Why did Jason do any of this? So I'm Jason. While Debbie is in the shower, I kill her boyfriend Andy in the hallway just outside the bathroom. Now, I could just go into the bathroom and kill Debbie while she's in the shower, but Norman Bates kinda already did that. I gotta come up with something else. Knowing Debbie is gonna be out of the shower soon, I need to do something with Andy's body, right? Do I stash it behind this thing? Or hide it in one of the other bedrooms maybe? Nah. What I'm gonna do instead is lift Andy's dead-ass corpse all the way up onto this narrow beam above the bed. Then, I'm somehow gonna carefully balance this mangled carcass on this beam so it doesn't fall off, but in a way where Andy's face is still clearly visible, all without leaving a huge bloody mess all over the room. And then, I'm gonna hide under this hammock and just wait. So when Debbie comes in and lies down, I'll grab her from below and get all stabby. In Jason's defense, Debbie does almost immediately lie down in that hammock, but what if she didn't? What if she went looking for Andy instead, or went to get a snack? Jason would have been waiting under that hammock like an idiot for God knows how long. Or what if Debbie simply looked up before getting into the hammock and saw Andy's body up there? It would have ruined everything. This whole thing just makes me wonder, are there times when Jason just camps in some weird spot for hours trying to get a kill, but nobody ever shows up? Speaking of killers hiding under things, let's talk about the time Jason's mom killed Kevin Bacon. Jack and Marcy just had sexy time, but Marcy has to get up and pee. Jack stays in bed smoking a cigarette, but suddenly, Mrs. Voorhees does the old reach around from underneath the bed and grabs him. Then, still beneath the bed, shoves an arrow up through the mattress and through Jack's neck, killing him. So, first of all, when did Mrs. Voorhees get underneath the bed? Did she army crawl across the room and slip under the bed while Jack and Marcy were getting it on? Or was she under there the whole time, just hanging out while they, This is a killer whose whole MO is that she's enraged at camp counselors for getting busy while her son drowned. But when she actually finds some camp counselors getting busy, she's all,
I'm gonna let you finish.
Then there's the kill itself. To drive an arrow up through the bottom of the bed, at the angle it comes through Jack's neck, you would need to hold it almost vertically, Jack is lying in the bottom bunk of one of these bunk beds. According to this site that sells camp bunk beds, the standard model only has 8 inches of clearance underneath the bottom bunk, but these older models seem to have a bit more clearance, so let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say there's 18 inches of space under the bed frame. Certainly enough room for someone to hide under the bed, but not enough room to rotate an arrow vertically. To prove my point, I staged the following high-tech scientific demonstration. This is how high the bed would have to be off the ground to have enough room for this to work. There's just no way. Now, some of you may be thinking, what if she's just using a really short arrow? I mean, maybe, but even in that situation, Pam still has to blindly navigate the arrow with one hand through a bed frame, several inches of mattress and blankets, and presumably Jack's neck bone, all while she's lying under this bed at an awkward angle because she's reaching up around several inches of solid bed frame and mattress and pillow to grab Jack's forehead. Possible? Maybe. Worth the effort? Absolutely not. So yeah, that's the video. Thank you for watching, and if you want to see more Jason Voorhees content, check out these videos and hit that subscribe button. And until next time, later, Danger Seekers.